Hello, and welcome to the Motivated by Love podcast, a podcast designed to help young adults navigate relationship anxiety and relationship OCD. I'm your host, Ksenia, and I am so happy to be here with you today. Today, we are talking about what I think is one of the most important things to understand about relationship anxiety. And that is the core of what's actually going on underneath your looping. I think that understanding this is the single most important way to heal relationship anxiety and relationship OCD. A lot of the things we do with relationship anxiety are like putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm. What really needs to happen is the healing of the broken arm, not just putting a Band-Aid on it, right? So today what we're going to talk about is how to actually heal the parts of us that are causing so much anxiety. Now, anxiety in the human body is a protective emotion. Anxiety is often protecting from something else. So it could be a deeper wound like grief or loss, or shame, or being afraid of loss. Anxiety is so good at protecting us from feeling these really negative emotions, right? And so what we want to do is figure out what those actual core fears are and learn how to heal those so anxiety doesn't have to protect us so much. So my coach, Mikkel, Kristen, she talks about how, how we talked about the urge cycle for the past couple weeks, right? We have a trigger, leads to an urge, leads to a result, which leads back to the trigger. It's this whole cycle. Now, instead of thinking about this cycle as like a two-dimensional circle that just goes around and around and around, I want to give it some depth. So it's like thinking about that circle as the top of a funnel, right? Like a cooking funnel or whatever kind of funnel, but there's a cone underneath, right? So the spinning, all of that, like the urge cycle is just the top of this funnel. And that's the space we get really stuck in. That's where anxiety likes us to stay, is where we're looping. But what we want to do is get down underneath in that cone part of the funnel and figure out what actually is fueling the spinning. So looping mode is where, like I said, we often get stuck. It feels really urgent. And when we loop, we don't actually solve any of the problems. We're looking at a Band-Aid instead of actually healing the core thing that's going on, the core wound. So in order to figure out what those core wounds are, or those core fears, we want to ask ourselves some questions when we're looping. A lot of the time when we loop, we get stuck on a question, like, what if this isn't right? Or what if I'm not attracted to him? Or what if we're not compatible? And as we try to solve those questions, you might notice that your anxiety or your OCD, once you feel like you've solved one question, it moves on to a different question, right? It keeps us in looping mode because anxiety is still trying to protect us from something. So when you notice that you're looping, that you're doing that urge cycle over and over and over again. And if you don't know what the urge cycle is, listen to the last couple episodes. But when you notice that you're looping a lot, what you want to do is ask yourself questions like, what would be so bad if this were true, right? Like, what if I really am not attracted to him? What's so bad about that? What's the worst case scenario? And another question you can ask yourself is, what is figuring out this question trying to protect me from? This is going to give you so much insight into what's actually going on underneath, what some of your core fears are. So for example, the question, what if this isn't right? If I ask myself, what is this trying to protect me from? It might be trying to protect me from feeling shame over making the wrong choice. Maybe a lot of my worth is wrapped up in making the right choice, and I don't want to feel the shame of making a wrong choice. Boom. There's where the real work needs to happen, is learning how to be comfortable feeling shame, knowing that shame is a human emotion and learning how to heal that part of us. Another example, right? What if our question is, what if I'm not attracted to him? It's like, okay, what if I really wasn't attracted to him? What's the worst case scenario? What's so bad about not being attracted to your husband? Well, and then your brain might say something like, well, if I'm not attracted to him, then we'll probably get a divorce. And I don't want, and then we keep going and we go, okay, what would be so bad about getting divorced? Well, I don't want to feel regret or the heartbreak of a divorce. It's like, oh, wow, boom, there it is. Your beautiful brain is trying to protect you from feeling regret, or is trying to protect you from feeling heartbreak. And so that is where the real work needs to happen. Really, when it comes down to it, anxiety is always protecting us from feeling another emotion, whether that emotion is regret or heartbreak or loss or shame or abandonment. Anxiety is trying to protect us, and literally the worst thing that can happen is a negative emotion. And so the beautiful thing is that the true work that we need to do to overcome relationship anxiety and relationship OCD is to heal those parts of us, to learn how to feel heartbreak in a safe way, because your brain has probably learned that it's not safe to feel heartbreak, or that it's not safe to feel regret. And so your brain is trying so hard to protect you from feeling it. The amazing thing is that true confidence in our relationships doesn't come from getting everything right and avoiding all of these negative emotions. True relationship confidence comes from learning how to feel any negative emotion. It comes from learning how to get really good at feeling them, right? Like if I know that I am totally capable of feeling regret, then my brain doesn't have to protect me so hyperactively from regret. Or if I know that I'm capable of feeling loss, I'm capable of feeling heartbreak, then my brain doesn't have to protect me so much from it. And like I said, that is where true relationship confidence comes from. Now, you might be thinking, great, that makes a lot of sense, but how do I do it? And I'm going to give you just a couple of ways to start practicing on your own. But truly, my experience has been that it can be really hard to heal these emotions without a coach to walk you through it. It can be really hard to build the emotional confidence in feeling these emotions without a coach. Even I, as a coach, like I know how to do this. I teach it. I do it for a living. And I even have a hard time doing it by myself sometimes and need my coach to walk me through it when they're my own emotions. And so that's my number one best advice is to find a coach that you connect with, that you trust, and work on feeling these emotions with them. Learn how to feel regret in your body. Learn how to feel heartbreak in your body to teach your brain that it's not so scary and that you're safe. It's actually totally safe to feel heartbreak, and it's safe to feel shame. And so, like I said, my number one hint or piece of advice is to find a coach that you trust to do that with, that will hold space for you and walk you through how to feel those emotions. Now, second, some things that you can do in the meantime by yourself to learn how to start feeling these emotions is first to start teaching yourself that emotions are safe. And you might wonder what I mean by that, but what I mean is whenever you feel a negative emotion throughout the day, I want you to recognize what it's like to be a human feeling this emotion. I will definitely talk about this more in future episodes, but I want you to recognize what it's like if you were an alien in a human body feeling sadness or feeling embarrassment or whatever it is throughout the day. I want you just to notice what it's like to be a human feeling that emotion. Maybe if you were narrating a book, how would you narrate the experience? So I want you to narrate the experience and at the same time, show yourself that you're safe, that it's totally safe to feel this emotion and you're capable of it. And you can practice that in small ways throughout the day, right? Maybe you're at a red light and you feel angry, or someone cuts you off in traffic and you feel angry. You go, okay, what's it like to be a human feeling angered right now? If I were going to narrate a book character feeling this emotion, what's it like? Where is it in my body? Is it red hot in my chest? Or do I feel energy coursing through my whole body? What does it feel like? And then recognize that you are safe to feel anger. You can tell yourself, all right, right now I feel anger. It's red hot. It's in my chest and it's safe to feel this emotion. Or maybe you get a bad grade on a test and you feel shame. You can recognize what it's like to be a human feeling shame and then tell your brain, and you add on to the end of it, and it's safe to feel this emotion. We just slowly start teaching our brains that emotions are safe to feel. Now, you might have some pretty big emotions, especially if you have some trauma. And I want to, again, give a plug for coaching or therapy. If you feel like you have some emotions that come up that are too big for you, that's especially when we want to involve a therapist or a coach. Especially when there is some trauma that's happened in the past. That's a beautiful space for a therapist or a coach to help you work through those emotions. Okay, and last, one other thing that you can do when you notice yourself really looping, you know you're looping, but you don't know how to feel the emotion underneath, you can just remind yourself that the worst thing that can happen is a negative emotion. And that in and of itself will help you start to step out of the looping and more into that funnel, right? Just reminding your brain, okay, I know I'm looping right now. The worst thing that can happen is a negative emotion. I'm so grateful my brain is trying to protect me, but it's okay. I can handle negative emotions. And that's what I want to leave you with, is that you are so capable. You can handle negative emotions. And if you feel like you can't, you have so many resources to learn how. There are countless coaches, and I would love to work with you. I'd love to teach you how to be confident feeling emotions so that you don't feel like you have to protect so much from them, because you are so capable of being a human with a human experience and feeling negative emotions. You are so strong and capable. And that's what I want to leave you with. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about this. I know that this can seem a little bit new, and I would love to answer any questions that you have. Thanks for listening, and I will see you next week.